What's going down, everyone? And if you're here, you're for the brand new Nvidia patch note that they just kind of blipped in. The 441.08 is now being replaced with the 4410. No more, it's the 441.12. So, as you can kind of see that I'm doing some finite tuning in my testing as I overclocked my lovely 2080 Ti. I was just noticing that maybe it might be some time to put new thermal paste on there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to be playing around with that as I probably dismantle that in the tail end of December, maybe early December portion. But as getting into the news, a lot of the portion of what this newer patch was getting ready for the newer Red Dead Redemption, as a lot of people are probably playing on their PCs as we very well speak. But as we kind of get into this portion, as my computer is definitely going through some portions of doing the test, go ahead and slap over to the news. And as you can see, what I have pulled up right over here on the desktop as situation unfurls into the 441.12 of the Game Ready driver released from Nvidia's. So as you can see right here, Red Dead Redemption and Need for Speed Heat and the Borderlands 3 as the situation here gets furthered into the portion of tuning this driver. So if you have Borderlands 3, how is it running? I'm very curious now that it's been out there for a good second, and PC players have been having a little bit more of a nightmare that I've heard in order to kind of get this done. In the situation of the G-Sync and the compatibility for the supports for the LG B9, C9, and the E9 4K OLED screens, and situations for the new features and the fixes in the drivers. This is what we're going to be starting to look into a little bit more of the situational points. So let me see if I can, because zoom in just a little bit more into this. Make sure that that fits the screen on perfect, actually, as everything kind of plays out on the... Now, let's go ahead and dive a little bit over here as we get our TimeSpy Extreme test. This should be the very finite portion. Kind of glitches into the matrix and gives us our score. We can kind of see what I got on my overclock. Not too shabby for a Port Royale test. I think it would have gotten a lot better if I had kind of let it run a more 4K RTX. It would have been down. Like, this is like more of like just like normal 4K Port Royale. I wish. But that's actually not that bad of a score. So let's go ahead for the install. That's what I need to do, but I need to hit my default settings real fast. And we're going to go ahead and pop back over to the news. I kind of get everything in the visual point of juggling my defaults, and you'll hear my voice finally hit a nice medium. It's not as loud. And we're going to go ahead and install our control panel portion of it. Now, I should probably like blip back over before we hit into the news. I figure I give some people time to nibble on that information that was there. Their eyes and stuff like that as it goes live. But you can kind of see that there are a lot of stuff that you can kind of get into. You can go into optimal or preferred performance and the max performance situation. This is usually where it's kind of hitting, like, for me, I noticed better performance when I went to optimal versus over that. So I'm going to switch back. Personally, I noticed like there was probably a variant of like where the top out was a lot easier to ascertain with it versus that. So, and you can kind of see the sharpening and imaging, other things, other people had asked if the variants are going to happen to be there when like, you're able to portion of like switching these things and pushing things like higher and higher and higher and higher. It's like that highest, yes. But you will run into some issues sometimes. But that's where you kind of play with it and see if you can actually physically get to. Now, I was just wanting to show that because there was a lot of like newer portions of what was been added with image sharpening and all these other things that are kind of getting down to. But now we have our driver, and we're gonna go ahead and install it. And you can see Red Dead Redemption is ready for its debut today. And yesterday was when the release of this driver was, as well as the AMD one. I've been doing a lot of testing for both of them, so like I'm gonna be able to kind of like showcase a lot of them. That's why it's like kind of a head scratcher. It was like, damn, dude, there's a lot of freaking like news to be covered. But let's go ahead and get back to the news, shall we? As you can see, that where we are currently left off on the newer features of where we can pass the G-Sync and the OLEDs, the newer features and the fixes on the 44112 is the Game Ready The new Game Ready driver provides the latest performance and optimization in the profile and fixes Red Dead Redemption. So obviously there was already like day one situations they were kind of, as well as where you can read up on the recommending settings for the GPU for Redemption. Like right there, which we can. I can, kind of utilize that as an offshoot later on. We can kind of go to. This is a new driver that includes the latest optimal portions for Need for Speed and Borderlands 3. So these two, if you happen to have that, you should probably look into that situation and let me know down below if you happen to have any other portions. So let's go ahead and get the install started. I personally go with express installs. They're very easy from Nvidia. Hell's a fast. Like AMD definitely does run up sometimes, but they're pretty solid once they're installed. And if you've run into any other issues, like just clean installs, like that's will always be like your winning ticket. But as we kind of get down portionably past where our game ready portion is, as you can see the G-Sync and the compatibility, where it increases the over 55 option, and in addition to the LGB, as we listed before, with those LED, and the portion of making sure the update firmware for the best experience. Pushing past that portion in the application profiles and the performance is Borderlands 3 and Red Dead Redemption. Oh man, that game is gonna be fire on PC. It's like it's hard to not want to like drop everything you like start playing that like pixels. I'm sure that's what a lot of people are doing. But as we look into the added security and the update as the portion of the components go, you can see that the Nvidia bullet portion where the point in the containment, the sixth. So it's basically you'll be able to kind of access these points. Again, we can kind of look at that in a second. But one of the bigger portions that I do have is like I do have where you can see for the Red Dead Redemption for the G right now. We can kind of dip a little bit more farther. Now they do have like a trailer proportionable point, and then you can size up as your 2080 Ti can definitely go into highs, and then you have your 2080 Supers, 60s, and where you can kind of get into like your like next level. So it's like that's nice to know that I'll be like in the very portion being higher portion, and probably have to overclock my card so I can get a little FPS out of it. It's run well. Like, I figured I would attach this art. But I also do have this article attached too for the most people that want to read the footnotes and everything that's basically included inside of there. Now you can kind of see that there's an error. This page is no longer available. So go ahead and get back to the news. The security bulletin probably won't go live for the 6th. I was looking at the driver securities on page 14. I wonder if that's on this one. Page 14. I don't think it is. That's a lot of probably different reference. But looking at the portion of where we also have an install that's basically almost summing up past the portion. Adds the supports for the LG G-Sync in the monitors, and will fix any stop and write out the fixes as we kind of switch gears and install as we're gonna get close. Now, this is the only one that I personally myself like check for updates just to make sure. Pretty good about letting me know, but I know that I don't really need to do a reset with Nvidia. They're actually pretty cool. I thought this was hilarious. I got that score last night and I was just like, holy crap, that's a rare thing. Only 2.5% people have like landed that. I want to get the elite one. That one would be really tight. Like the score. But we'll see as these things develop, and we'll kind of go into like a tit for tat. We'll go ahead and do our Port Royale tests versus what will end up being past our points of DirectX 11 and DirectX 12 as we kind of go test these situations in 4K applications. Figure out we might as well in today in the situational point of just pushing the engine, seeing what we end up getting. Let's go ahead and run our tests to see what we get in this situation as roundabout. And we'll go back to the news as we kind of like slam back into forth between news and gameplay and testing. And as we can kind of see that we can look towards the portions of the Super Robots War 5. Games crashes into the white screens with an error of 2720588. And this portion of the important issues that are open is Battlefield 5. The G-Sync and the HDR are enabled. Cannot maximize the full screen with the taskbar. Grand Theft Auto still making the list for the 3 last updates for most people that are experiencing that, I apologize. I understand that is a hard portion of what you're trying to play, and you're having frequent crashes. I'd say go back to an old optimized setting until they fix this. If you are subscribed to the channel, I'll let the people know who are concerned about that matter fixed, because I do know comments that I have to get back with, but it has made the list 3 times consecutively. That is they are working with Rockstar in order to try to fix that. And Nvidia is not working with the application. Oh, now they're not? Oh, no, they are. Oops, I misread that. I was like, wait, what? Like, I looked over at the different, like, the dot, and I was like, wait, why does that footnote? But they are, as I kind of stated before. I was like, I knew they were. I was like, but as you can see, that the download tool is right there, Developly, ready to digest if you want to click and download as of today. But what we are looking at nowadays is probably some Port Royale tests, which would be kind of cool. I think in this situation, as we come into the news and where revamp is going to be a situation, the reamp is going to be a great introduction to the Ti, I guess, situation of evolution will come. And like they're talking about doubling down on the tensor cores and the CUDA cores as count, as we kind of get into more of a more powerful processing point, and as we get towards AMD also fighting back with, I think, Navi 20 and 24, which is going to be Nvidia killing series as they call it, but those are going to be past the 2080, because the Nvidia contender that will be going against the 2080 Ti should be AMD's Navi 12 and 10, I think, that are going to be coming out. Those are supposed to be more entry level points of where they're going to be getting into battling portions, which is really cool, because if you think about it, the next 2 to 3 months, we're going to see a huge blossom of cheap deals for as we go into the holiday season, which is going to be great for them liquidating old stock, but more of the factor of them also looking towards what we're going to be going newer technology, which is going to be really tight like a tiger. I think that's going to be. But as we look into our Port Royale test, let's go ahead and look at our comparison points, as we can see. So I've done some researching points, and as we look into where we were before, there's a cluster of all this stuff. But let me go ahead and look at not the Fire Strike, but the Port Royales. So you can see that the last variant portions, I tested this back to back, and I noticed that it was kind of a little bit portionable, and I was like, as you can kind of see, as the last time that I ran the test, there's a big difference. The last 3, there's about a 30 gain directly, but this one is pretty abnormal, personally myself, but it was coming back directly after an overclock, so it could have been a benefit of running a little bit more amped, versus as you look at the other tests, they're roughly right around there. So you can see that they are newer portions of improvements, but there also is a very huge step back from yesterday's updates. But at the same time, they did update the Port Royale test on the benchmarking portions of 3D Mark. So who knows what they are implementing as far as the situation goes, and what we will be seeing in the introduction of more software reliable testing shadows, and them trying to push the unit into more of a harder stress test. So it's I will continue to run tests prior and post, just because I do know that 3D Mark updates, and I that's one thing I did want to point out, that I kept running different tests, and I was like, this has to be their update, because they did noticeably put a new update on Teams interface, but as well as 3D Mark mentioned Port Royale updated, which makes me wonder if they're updating it for Navi units, as AMD introduced a new Vulkan code kind of into the lineup, which is supposed to help with shadowing and all this other cool stuff, which I'm hoping furthers into their point of where they're kind of edging towards the software-based ray tracing for some Navi units. I'm hoping might be a benefactor point of maybe Radeon 7. They may give maybe a little bit of love maybe to that 7 nm process of its second processing point of Vega series. It's supposed to be just Vega 7 nanometer, which is pretty cool. But I mean, you look at other things that their introduction of the 2070 and then taking it away and then reintroducing it. It's like, yes, I think that these are great selling points, maybe, but they're not always the ultimate portion where we go. I want to see like cheaper cards as they come into as we get into the new series 30. You know, it's like RTX series is great, but like where's the introduction the software developers like pushing forward, and it is now like you starting to see stuff like control and other things, but you start to see that there are um I think the developers are taking it like one step further, where I think Reamp will finally be able to make like control and other portions really function in like a single card rather than having to like buy two or SLI three and like hope for the best in like these situations to have nominal gains kind of have functionable portions. Because like besides Intel being into the game of like slapping like a few different portions of like um, kind of like a Crossfire or the SLI, you'd have to have like as we see that those were the adoptable points of having like maybe like a 15 to 20% increasement, or as far as the additional GPU, which really isn't that much if you really think about it. I'd want 50% or 100% rather. As we're speaking into the portion of I'm buying the same exact unit, then why not like why is that? It just doesn't make sense to me. I think that there's a better way. And maybe Intel might get that hammer with them talking about bringing that back and revitalizing that. I mean, I'm happy to see um, a, I guess, syncable point between GPUs finally function a today's standard for people to finally utilize in the best way possible. So who knows? We might see some cool things. Then maybe that might push other game developers to kind of like see that hey, it's coming back and start kind of writing those things where you have the benefacting points of like the software of multiple GPUs, but then also on top of that have like other like GPU developing companies like Nvidia and are opening that door to understand that that's where people want to like go to. Like that's kind of cool. I think that would be like really great. So looking at that situation of where we are inside of our benchmarks instead of Port Royale, let's go ahead and make our fire strike just line up. And we can kind of see that our fire strikes back to back. That's actually really good. That increasement was pretty solid for as far as looking at like 100 gain where were before. And like that's actually if you look at where people were complaining of like Overwatch and other things and frame rate going down, might be the update fixes things. So I would say like for most people they're looking at should I install this seeming is like the Port Royale is it gained some it by 30 points. It seems like the DirectX 12 will be the next test as we get past the Fire Strike Ultra, because that actually did offer a really great situation. As you can see, I also tested here as where we have our other portions of like the old tests, but those are probably pretty nominal, and I can definitely beat that. If I was looking at anything, that would definitely be a almost 25 if you were looking at like a fire strike on the bottom, like where it wasn't as stressing out for my 2080 Ti. But going back and back to for tat, you can see that you can probably about 50, almost 50 points. That's pretty good. So let's go ahead and do our time spy extreme as we round about the very end of this episode. But very cool. I'm definitely enjoying this a lot. The situation of where we're going. 19 minutes in, and we've already kind of cleared a huge threshold of where we can kind of like go towards newer technology. And like, if anyone has any questions, and they're having issues with this, I would very be curious to understand what GPU you have, what CPU, what's your setup. I mean, those things sometimes like the drivers can like interfere with it. I've had Windows drivers mess with stuff, and that's why I like to always like just do the benchmarks prior and post, like where it's like it's the day of, so it's running with the same software that's in the computer versus the other ones. Because I've seen like drops where it's like, it's like you test once, then all of a sudden you test again right before you test, and then you're like, wait, how did I lose like 100 points in like a variant? And then you're just like, oh, it's like some bloatware, or it's like something even like more ridiculous, like Like, oh, this brand new update, on Windows took away from some kernel count, and now I'm looking at like a portion where it's not running as optimal where I wanted to, and people can like situation be like, oh, it's this is the game developer, the GPU is like, no, that's actually software. Sometimes it just sucks. Like when we are the, I guess, in the mysterion function of wondering what's going on. But this is already looking pretty good, honestly. 41 on the roundabout. If it gets to almost 42, that'd be really happy. But this is looking like it might have some nominal gains on the DirectX 12. I'm noticing not just like necessarily a more smoothness, but just more of an FPS fighting for that top out where it's like running towards that smooth on the incline. Like I almost want to say it almost reached 42, which is like for me like you get to see that every so often. But getting to the technology news of where we're kind of going and portions of where we're pushing past, it's like I'm wondering if like maybe once AMD introduces their software of ray tracing, that like maybe Nvidia will pull that out of their back pocket of having more of like a software based situation for other people that are having like older school like GTX series. That would be kind of cool if you were owning that card to kind of get a lightweight, like maybe shadows, maybe nothing super heavy where it's like, the reflections are there, but they offer like something where it's like you as a player can benefit from that increasement nominal like portions to the taxing of your GPU, but more of the portions of the benefactor of like where the clarity comes in, just like an image sharpening portions or an image quality. A software introduction can be for both companies have basically introduced that to. AMD has done a great job of like I feel like doing like industry standards and pushing both companies because it's like I feel like the last update 441.08 was a great introduction of showing like how the company itself retorted back to AMD's portion of like, hey, we're going to introduce this to our settings, and then Nvidia's just like, no, we can do this, and that's why I've liked it the last few ones. 43602 was a great introduction of where they fired back with performance, and like that was a huge increasement, and then they kind of like tried to stabilize it throughout the time. I've noticed since that update they've really kind of just toyed with it and like I guess now finally stabilized it as they kind of push forward more on the increasements of the software drivers, which the game ready drivers are really great. I feel like they're more formidable each time they install something as a new plateau and increasement. But this is the 440 plateau that they have right now. This is the third installment of this. Pretty cool. Now, this is the finite portions of the very end. And most people are the very tail end of this episode, looking towards like wanting to have some like of the patch notes. You can definitely click the link down below. There is a ton of information that I have that's right there. And you can see right here that I pulled up. A lot of it was Borderlands, and where they were kind of getting closer and closer to understanding situational fixes for with like Grand Theft Auto. It's unfortunate that it's not like now where we can kind of see this, but we'll see some bigger increasements. Kind of push forward. Past this test, we'll be getting our final test, and this is a yay or nay moment for the install. Do people want to install this? And I guess that's like kind of like the finite portion of like these updates in the very end. Should you install these in an optimal portion? I feel like a lot of times it's yes, definitely. But there are points where it's like you see it and you're just like, no, this is not a good update. This is horrible. It made my computer like run crazy, or it made like Overwatch lose like 20 FPS. It just things happen. All right. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and compare our tests. Get our judgment. Time Spy. As looking at the Time Spy Extreme, there is a huge gap as you can kind of see as I overclocked one. As you can see, the situation of almost around 7,100. This has increased literally by, I would want to say, by a good portion, almost by 50, which my guess was right. So it did really well. I like to think it did extraordinarily well. Versus something where you're gonna go where you're, AMD Radeon 7, it's like literally half that, and that's not even overclocked. You can much farther than that, where you can kind of push forward. So I'd like to think that that was very successful as the situation rolls out, and we can even run one last overclock to end the episode. I feel like that might be really nice. I'll leave it at that. Skip out in the portion of GPU tests. Now, personally, myself, I'll just kind of click these over. This really doesn't matter too much. What really matters is like turning up the clock speed. I can kind of get a pretty good that will probably kill. Probably get that. I feel like I can do 5. I'll be fine. I'll match what I did last time. I'll goes tit for tat to see the increasement. I mean, I can always sit here for days and toy with it, and installment rate. Always make sure you turn your fan. You're gonna kill it. Now the audio may go away for a split second as you hear everything kind of run into play. Let's go ahead and run our last test, and we'll run exactly back to back on DirectX 12. I feel like that one is like more of the easier one to kind of like size up as like the industry starting to push a little bit farther. Now this should be really fast too. With overclocking, you'll notice that the frame count runs faster, so you end quicker. Great. For like testing standards, it's not that long. But great update. So far, it's seeming like this is a great fix. They fixed some things for as far as FPS, introduction and support for Red Dead Redemption, Borderlands 3, as well as them still looking into a few different issues like Grand Theft Auto. We will be seeing some fun situations evolve, and let's go ahead and see where this testing goes in FPS. Is already starting out the standard of having 2 FPS at the title, which is kind of crazy. We're reaching 46 at the very peak to 41, 40 on the very bottom portions. This really depends on like where the movement is. You'll start to notice and what is rendering in. Pretty cool. Now I normally have like the temperature and the sound. I ran out of batteries. I need to get some more batteries for both of those devices, which run on 9 volts. So I usually utilize like the cheapies because they're just disposable and they're utilized really well. Off them off. But looking at that portion of where this is seeming very promising, FPS and clarity is pretty great for this overclock. I'm definitely digging it. I'm assuming we will probably more than likely shatter to like the 7,143 is where my guess will be. That'd be kind of cool. But we'll see. There's some way more elite than that. Depends on how the second test goes and what we end up there. I am very curious though what Nvidia will be doing towards the tail end of November with the new Navi units. Nvidia obviously tries to match where AMD goes, and AMD was supposed to talk today about their newer Threadripper lineup and other things. They pushed it back to the 7th. Very curious to see what's going to happen on November 7th as they introduce of what's going on with their video cards. So very excited to see that. Very excited to hear that. I'll have to pick a more direct news report for that situation in technology for my channel, just because I feel like that would be a really big day for me, because I'll be learning what I'll be getting towards the Christmas season as new technology rolls out with the new Threadripper lineup. Okay, so the test is almost done. As we come down to hit this situation, we should be able to roundabout directly into that little Galax emblem, and then we should be able to get our test to end this great update. I really like it. Doesn't seem like they added any new features. It just seems like they fixed a lot of things that have been going on with a lot of people. So I'm really curious to see if other people are still having issues with this at all, and if they are, what are they experiencing? Vision. Luckily, this test doesn't take too long. My processing. Threadripper handles it. No, I did push it a lot. But as we come down to the 31-minute mark, and I do say thanks for everyone for staying to the very end. Cheers. Questions, definitely leave a comment down below. I'd like to hear from the tech community of what they're experiencing, liking this update. But if you are new to the network, you can subscribe. It's absolutely free. And if you do, who knows? Maybe I will turn into a pixel and then grow from that. One pixel of 360p, 4K, 8K, high dimensional, like pixel. Anyways, all subscription humor aside, we should be getting our final score coming up right about, hopefully now. The end of everything. Very nice. Did we beat our score? Because I think the last one was 7,083. Oh, snap. Not too bad. 7,132. That's a very, very good score, actually, in the comparison points. This edges portion will look more past where we were before. Hydra, future proof. Got our scores. Pretty neat. So, alright, everyone. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I set up for my AMD patch note, but I'll see you guys and gals in the near future. Have a great day. And if you are new to the network, you can always hit that subscription bell. Who knows? Maybe I will become a pixel. We'll just have to stay tuned.